In a world where love should have been a sanctuary, it became a battlefield. Diem, fragile yet brave, carried not just the weight of a child, but the crushing burden of disbelief. Her tears were not only for herself, but for the innocent life growing within her, the proof of a love she never once betrayed. Yet Toan's mother, blinded by pride and doubt, turned her heart into a wall of ice. Her words cut deeper than any blade, denying the bloodline, denying Diem's dignity, denying the very essence of truth. But Toan, he stood unshaken. In his eyes burned a fire of conviction. In his chest beat the vow of a man who refused to let lies tear apart the woman he loved and the child that was his flesh and blood. He would fight not against the world, but against the shadows of suspicion, even if it meant standing against his own mother. Love, truth, and bloodline, nothing could silence them forever. For a long time, Tu Diem had carried her pain in silence. She had known rejection, cruelty, and the bitterness of being unwanted. But when love finally came to her through Toan, she dared to believe that her life could change, that the tears of yesterday could turn into the smiles of tomorrow. And when she realized she was carrying his child, her heart was filled with both fear and hope. Fear, because she knew his mother's heart had never accepted her. Hope, because this little life inside her was the purest proof of their love. Yet the moment of truth arrived, like a storm. When Diem finally gathered the courage to speak, Toan's mother stared at her coldly, disbelief flashing in her eyes. "No," she said sharply, her voice cutting the air like a blade. "That child cannot be of our blood. You are deceiving him, using lies to trap my son." The words struck Diem like thunder. She stood frozen, her hand trembling over her stomach. Every breath felt heavy, as if the walls around her were closing in. She had endured many insults in her life, but nothing wounded her more than having the life she carried denied before it had even begun. Toan's silence lasted only a moment. Then, like fire, his voice rose in defense. "Mother, enough." His eyes burned with anger, but also with unshakable certainty. He moved to Diem's side, holding her hand as though shielding both her and their child. "This is my child. I know it as surely as I know my own name. And if the world doubts it, I will prove it with every means possible." The house trembled with tension. Diem's tears fell, not from weakness, but from the ache of being so cruelly accused. She tried to speak, but Toan's grip tightened, steadying her. "Diem," he said softly, his voice now gentle against the storm. "You don't have to defend yourself. I will carry this fight." Days turned into restless nights. Toan arranged for doctors, tests, and every proof that science could provide. But more than that, he stood before his family and the world, declaring with unwavering conviction that the life in Diem's womb was his blood, his future, his pride. Each step was not just about proving biology, it was about protecting the woman he loved from the cruelty of disbelief. Diem, though wounded by the denial, found strength in his resolve. For the first time, she felt that she was not standing alone against judgment. Toan's determination became her shelter. His love became her shield. And so, their story entered a new battle, not against poverty or enemies in the company, but against doubt within the very heart of family. Yet Toan's voice never wavered. His final words to his mother echoed with the weight of both a son and a father. "Whether you accept it or not, this child is mine, and I will protect Diem and our baby to the very end, even if it means standing against the world." In that moment, Tu Diem no longer felt afraid. For love that can withstand denial, slander, and even the breaking of family bonds is love that has already proven itself true. The following morning, the house was silent, but tension lingered in every corner. Tu Diem sat by the window, her hands folded over her belly as though to shield the tiny life within. Her eyes were red from tears, yet there was a quiet determination in her heart. No matter what anyone said, she knew the child was real, and she knew the father was Toan. Toan returned from the hospital with documents in his hand. His expression was unreadable, but his steps were firm. He walked into the living room where his mother sat, her face cold and stern. "Mother," Toan said, placing the papers gently on the table. "The results are here. The doctors have confirmed everything. This child is mine. There is no more room for doubt." His mother's fingers trembled, though she quickly hid them in the folds of her dress. "Documents, tests, anyone can forge them," she muttered, but her voice lacked its usual sharpness. For the first time, hesitation flickered in her eyes. Tu Diem stepped forward. Her voice was soft, but it carried a strength that silenced the room. "I have no reason to lie, Mother. This child is not a weapon, not a trap. It is a gift, born from love. I don't ask for your acceptance for myself, but please, do not deny the life of your grandchild." For a moment, time seemed to stop. Toan's mother looked at Diem, then at her son. She saw the way he held Diem's hand, the fire in his eyes, the unshakable devotion in every word. She realized that nothing she said would break them apart. Her lips pressed into a thin line, pride battling with the stirrings of her heart. At last, she whispered, "If this child truly carries our blood, then it will not suffer. But Diem, do not think this means I have forgiven you so easily." It was not acceptance, not yet. But it was no longer outright denial. Toan exhaled slowly, relief softening his rigid shoulders. He pulled Diem close, whispering, "We've taken the first step. That's enough for now." That night, as Diem lay with her head against his chest, she listened to the steady beat of his heart. For the first time since the storm began, she felt safe. The path ahead would still be difficult, filled with trials, misunderstandings, and perhaps more rejection. But she no longer feared the future. Because no matter how cruel the world could be, she had Toan's love beside her, and within her. The proof of that love grew stronger with every passing day. The weeks that followed were a mixture of hope and challenge. Tu Diem's pregnancy was fragile at first, and every small discomfort worried her. Toan became her shadow, always nearby, watching her carefully, reminding her to rest, and bringing her the foods she craved. The man who once spent sleepless nights in boardrooms now spent them holding Diem's hand, counting every heartbeat of the child within her. There were tender moments that became treasures. One evening, as the cicadas sang outside, Diem suddenly gasped, her hand pressing to her stomach. "Toan," she whispered, her eyes wide with wonder. I felt it. The baby moved. Toan froze, then knelt before her, resting his palm gently against her belly. When he felt the faint flutter, his breath caught, his strong hands trembled in awe. "Our child," he whispered, his voice breaking. "Diem, it's real. We're going to be parents." Tears filled Diem's eyes. For every insult she had endured, for every doubt cast upon her, this tiny kick was the proof she needed, proof that their love was alive, growing stronger each day. Yet outside their little sanctuary, the world remained harsh. Rumors swirled in the company, whispered by those who resented Diem. Toan's mother still kept her distance, refusing to show joy. She had not denied the child again, but she had not embraced the truth fully either. Toan stood tall against it all. At meetings, when colleagues hinted at scandal, he silenced them with a single glare. At home, when Diem worried about the coldness of his mother, he kissed her forehead and said, "One day, she will see what I see. Until then, you only need my love, and the love of this child." Slowly, even the servants of the house began to change. They saw how Diem smiled through her pain, how she thanked every person with genuine warmth, how she endured loneliness without bitterness. Some began to admire her quietly, whispering that perhaps she was the woman destined to soften the heart of even the sternest matriarch. Months passed, and Diem's belly grew round. Toan never let her lift heavy things, never let her walk alone. Every night, he read aloud from books about fatherhood, his deep voice filling their bedroom with dreams of the future. Diem laughed at his seriousness, but secretly, it gave her comfort to know that the man she loved was preparing not just to be a husband, but a father. And though challenges remained, one truth was unshakable. Their love had already proven itself, through fire and storm. Now, with each heartbeat of the child in Diem's womb, that love blossomed into something eternal. The day would come when Toan's mother would have to face her grandchild, and perhaps, in that small face, she would finally see the undeniable truth. In life, love is often tested not in moments of comfort, but in moments of doubt and conflict. The story of Toan and Diem shows us that true love is not only about sharing happiness, but also about standing firmly together when the world refuses to believe in you. When Toan's mother denied the life growing inside Diem, it was more than just disbelief. It was a wound to the heart of a woman who only wanted to be accepted. Yet, instead of breaking apart, Toan chose to protect Diem with courage. His determination to prove the truth became the shield that gave Diem strength to continue. From this, we learn that love is not measured by words alone, but by actions that stand against storms. Toan's loyalty teaches us that when one partner is weak, the other must become strong. When one is doubted, the other must defend. Together, they showed that unity can silence even the harshest voices. The child in Diem's womb symbolized not only new life, but also the reward of perseverance. Just as a seed must endure the darkness of the soil before breaking into bloom, love must endure trials before reaching true beauty. This story reminds us, truth may be denied, and love may be doubted, but patience, faith, and unwavering commitment will always prevail. In the end, it is not the voices of doubt that define us, it is the strength of our hearts and the life we choose to build together.